Oh my God. When you came in here, I was like, you have a really chill energy right now. And I'm like, it's suspicious.
It's been a long day.
For an entrepreneur.
I think just after a long day, I've been out demoing. You come back and it's like time to relax.
Nice.
A good conversation is a time to be chill.
I love that you're doing that demoing thing. That's actually how we met.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The day at the, where they have the pickleball courts?
Yeah, but it was like SKU or SKPG.
It was
event.
one of those.
Yeah,
it was either a Wake Up CPG or a SKU event.
There's so many of those events in Austin. It's so great.
Oh, it's fantastic being in Austin because of that. It's a great
Yeah.
backyard of CPG.
And you moved here because of that, right?
So I actually originally moved to Austin back in 2017 for a job at Facebook.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what
Nice.
brought me out here. From LA, got a job at Facebook, decided to take the plunge and move to Austin. And have been here ever since.
What inspired you to do those demos? I feel like that's such a great way to spread the word, but it takes a lot of like personal labor,
Yes,
of course.
it's a big time commitment and a lot of effort, but it allows me to get the research, in person,
Right.
while simultaneously promoting the product in store. So
Right.
it shows my good faith to the store owners. We're getting a lot of movement, velocity of the product moving off of the shelf, and I get to, firsthand witness what are the first questions that people ask about the product, and I can be the person to, answer them right there on the spot.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really fun to get that in-person experience. So it's true that you've been having a lot of velocity, like in terms of just kind of hearing about your existence and seeing how fast things are going. I guess your team and you're coordinating each other really well, and it's going great. Just seems so fast.
Yeah, it's going all right. I mean, we started wholesale about 2 months ago, so it's been pretty quick.
Yeah.
We're in about 12 stores here locally in Austin, and 6 others across the country.
And you've done e-com too, right?
Yes, and we've been live on e-commerce for a little over a year now. And that's where we
nice.
started. So we wanted to be an e-commerce business. That was my background, right? I worked at Facebook. I worked at TikTok for a year.
Right.
D2C was my background. And I entered this space, assuming that, hey, I got a chocolate brand. D2C is where I should start it.
Yeah.
And that came with a lot of learnings because I'm bootstrapping this business.
Yeah.
And bootstrapping an e-commerce business when people want to try your product first before committing to it is a little difficult because I didn't have the big budgets that a lot of my old clients did.
Yeah.
So we did okay on e-commerce, but made the decision this past summer when we had to shut down shipping across the country to move more towards wholesale and retail, which has been the last couple of months for us. So that's why.
So you were forced to stop shipping?
Yeah, so chocolate in the summer don't really,
right.
marry very well. So unless we wanted to
Yes.
pay for very expensive shipping or pass that, cost on to our customers, we decided to opt to just shut everything down, take a good hard look at the business and think about what we wanted to do. So it was a great moment to take a step back so that we can actually progress forward.
I feel like that's just how it goes when you're when you have a time in your business where it's like less. There's always going to be that like never sleep period.
Yes.
And then there's those periods where it's like slower or some kind of objection comes into place, and then you have to be like, yeah, that's cool that you know to take a step back, like especially as an earlier stage entrepreneur. It's like I feel like everything needs to be done yesterday almost in your mind, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
This past year's been kind of a blur, but there's been big moments throughout it that have allowed me to really take a good hard look. And one of those, right, is the summer. We started to try to restrict shipping. Said, okay, these states on average aren't going to be above above 70 degrees on a day-to-day basis. We could probably ship there with confidence.
Yes.
And what we encountered was we have no real potential to monitor the weather across the country at all times. So we encountered a lot of melted chocolate, a lot of boxes had to be refunded, more chocolate shipped out, and a lot of that ended up melting in transit as well. So that's when we ultimately made the decision, let's just pause everything.
Yeah.
Understand what we want to do. And that was when the decision was made, right? We should keep e-commerce live and continue to promote the website, but let's build a retail side of the business.
And did you end up keeping product or did you lose all of that product?
We ended up keeping it. So that was also a difficult part because we were working with a third-party logistics company to ship all that chocolate on our behalf.
Yeah.
But we ran out of all the chocolate that we had here in Austin. So highly recommend if you're going to start an e-commerce business, particularly in food and bev, make sure you have product on hand and not have to pay to ship it to yourself, because we had to do that.
Oh my
and that
God,
was
you
a
had to pay
nightmare.
to ship it to yourself.
Yeah. So we broke up with our 3PL, which was a hefty fine and not too much fun, but it needed to be done. And we sent a refrigerated freight of all the chocolate to my apartment here in Austin, where I'm now fulfilling all the orders out of.
So how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with that mentally? What's your kind of way of managing all of, like, because that's an insane amount of stress, and you're what, like 20 people or something like that? What's your team?
My team is myself and my co-founder. We're a 2-person operation.
No.
Yeah.
You guys are crazy.
Yeah, it's been a lot, but it's take every day as it comes and focus on what you can accomplish.
Yes.
Right? Pick a task and set out to do it. If you try to do everything at once, it's not going to happen. And you just have to get comfortable with that from time to time. Even if some things fall by the wayside, you just have to prioritize.
Yeah. And how do you stay comfortable with that?
Get comfortable staying uncomfortable, potentially. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm ever really truly comfortable, because there's always something that pops up on a day-to-day basis that you just have to address.
Do you feel like, because sometimes I feel like I'm actually uncomfortable when things are too calm, almost like it's like you get, or when you, like there's this inability or an itch when you're an entrepreneur where you're just like, there's an inability to be like okay with what's happening. You're like always for like the next thing, like,
it just reminds, like, it's quiet, too quiet, right? Something's got to be going on. There's no potential for this to actually be calm right now. What am I missing? That happens all the time.
Or like an accomplishment, you achieve an accomplishment and then you're just like, great, for like 2 seconds, and then you're like, next thing, I'm not good enough. I need to do better.
That's a difficult balance, because you really should celebrate your wins, but amongst building a brand, it takes a lot of time. Food and bev, unless you strike gold, which we all see some people strike gold. You can't compare yourself to those individuals, because that's fantastic. But building a food and beverage brand, building something like this, takes years, right? And that's something you just have to acknowledge up front and continue to strive against.
So you knew that, and you had that expectation.
Yes. Year one is a very big learning year. I can say that with a lot of confidence. The amount of things that I look back on and say, wow, that was done this way, and moving forward, I would never do it that way again. I should do it this way. It's meant to be a learning year. Right? Particularly, my background was tech marketing, digital marketing. I supported different advertisers just spending money on Facebook ads and TikTok ads and other.
And being an entrepreneur is different?
Yeah, shocker.
What, and school didn't prepare you for this either?
No. There's a lot of things that come under your wing when you become an entrepreneur, and you're not prepared for them. But you end up just burying yourself into what that is, learning it on the go, and making it work. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And embracing the discomfort, like you were saying, like it's a great takeaway if anybody's starting a new
Absolutely,
company.
Should get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you have any entrepreneurs or founders that you really look up to and listen to, or even some podcasts that you listen to? And share
well, so the entrepreneurial bug like truly bit me. I'd always had the idea I want to start my own business. My dad owns his own business, but he's a healthcare management consultant. He's not in this world. But when I started working at Facebook, my job was to work with a bunch of medium-sized businesses, and that often, led me to work directly with founders. Yeah. Right. And CMOs and big marketing teams of these up-and-coming brands, and I just started helping them grow by spending their marketing dollars on Facebook and getting ingrained with their team, and that kind of just continued to make me ask the question, why am I not doing this? Yeah. All these clients of mine are seeing tremendous success. They're building such amazing products. Yeah. They're having a blast. And I'm here, right, on their team, not really, but giving advice and helping them grow. So I felt as if I was kind of on the inside, but not really on the inside. And that's ultimately led, to ask the question, why am I not doing this? And that birthed Nebula Snacks.
That's awesome. Those founders inspired you because you saw them having success and you got to talk to them a lot.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were talking to each other often, multiple times a week, on a weekly basis with some of my top clients. One in particular that I really enjoyed working with was the Magic Spoon team.
Oh, cool.
They were my clients, Gabby and Greg,
Yeah.
and absolutely love working with them. They were my client in 2019 after they first launched, and I just got to witness their immense growth year one, which was tremendous to be a part of. Cool. Kind of on the outside. I worked with companies like Rad Power Bikes.
Okay.
And they're like the number one e-bike right now in the
Yeah.
US, which
Wow,
is
that's a big
tremendous.
one.
And I was working closely with their co-founder and CMO at the time, Ty.
So these weren't your average entrepreneurs. These were
No,
some
that's
top
the thing.
tier
You
cool
get
people.
kind of a mix. You get kind of a
Yeah.
mix because I also worked with another Texas small business called Smallwoods, and they make wood frame signs. And they're not, the biggest business in the news, but they were growing tremendously at the time. And it was a pleasure to work with them too. I worked with Josh Smallwood, the CEO of
nice.
Smallwoods.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so cool. When it comes to entrepreneurs now that are Magic Spoon actually is quite a close inspiration because they went for that low sugar snack
Exactly.
feel.
Yeah.
Is that something that kind of inspired? What was the epiphany for your brand?
Yeah, so I had been a big fan of Magic Spoon. I've been eating
Yeah.
healthy for a number of years. I grew up as
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always do your workout Wednesdays, right? On
Workout
LinkedIn.
Wednesdays
I
on
love that.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I spent my childhood. I was a big eater.
Yeah.
Right. My family called me the vacuum growing up because I would clean my plate and then I'd clean everybody else's. I had a massive appetite, and I still very much have a gigantic appetite. But as a kid, if you're not super active, then you gain weight. So I was a chubbier child, and I went through those self-conscious years as a teen and started dieting and trying to work out. And, the information out there is available, but I didn't pursue it. I tried doing the fad diets. I tried doing the workout programs, the 2-month thing, the 3-month thing. And I'd see short-term results, but, I ended up getting back into my habits, relapsing and gaining the weight back.
Yeah.
So now I've gotten more comfortable with an ongoing, lifestyle rather than a short-term diet. And that involves, having healthier foods around, like Magic Spoon cereal, and going for low sugar or no sugar options. And when it came down to the pandemic, I was stuck inside again, and I was eating a lot. And, it was a moment in time where everybody was very, very stressed, myself included.
Yeah.
And I started eating a lot of sugar again. I was playing video games to make up the time and find something else to do as we were locked inside, and eating sugar late into the night. And I noticed myself gaining a lot of weight again.
Yeah.
One particular night, I was playing with my buddy Matt and now co-founder Matt.
Yeah.
And we were joking around, why not start a company with healthier snacks without the sugar in it? And that's where it started. That was the original idea. We laughed about it that night. We didn't, think it was going to be something that we actually did. But as we started talking throughout the rest of that week, we were like, what, why not? Why aren't we doing this? There is a need for it. We like snacking a ton, and we want more options out there because we weren't necessarily satisfied with what was available on the market.
Yeah. The night snacks will absolutely kill you. Yeah.
Yes.
Those-
It ruins your sleep, causes
Yeah.
inflammation in your stomach. It's not good for you, keeps you up, and then you wake up the next morning not feeling good either. So,
Oh my God. And immediately when I moved to America, I gained like 40 pounds. It was crazy.
Yeah, our ingredients will do that.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
unfortunate part. If you're not reading the nutrition facts, I think there's a stat out there that only 50% of people actually read the nutrition label.
Yeah.
And most people will only look at just the calories or the sugars, which has started to change. More people are looking at sugars and added sugars, but very few actually read the ingredients.
Well, you'd think like you kind of put your trust in the FDA a little bit, And
Yeah.
it's like, it's too bad that
Yes.
you have to pay so much attention. It's like it needs to be a course in school, but that won't happen.
Absolutely. That is something I'm very passionate about. Nutrition education is something that I did not receive when I was a kid. I like to believe I would have been far better off as a kid knowing those things early, maybe some home ed, cooking my own meals very early because I didn't start to cook until after high school.
And that's not just because you didn't want to do extra work or something because you're a kid, or do you think it would have made a bigger impact if you had known earlier?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that information is actually valuable to the way that you live.
Yeah, they used to do home ec, and that's just kind of a silly thing now, but it would needs to, maybe it should have a comeback and be like, here's like 5 healthy meals that every kid needs to learn. And
Absolutely.
just, like,
and maybe something
there.
a little bit beyond the food pyramid for for our
true.
nutrition.
It's okay if half your diet's bread, that's fine.
Yeah,
exactly. It's totally outdated.
And carbs are not the enemy. Let's just be clear. They're not the enemy. Sugars, are not the enemy. You can have sugar. It's making sure that you're conscious of how much sugar that you're intaking. I still eat sugar, right? It's not, the end all be all. I can't have sugar. I should only have so much sugar on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis and not go overboard because it can really be bad for you.
Well, you can eat your bars without sugar, which is great.
Exactly. Yeah, I've got plenty around.
Yes.
There's 0 sugar right now. We use monk fruit and allulose to sweeten.
Very cool. And it really does taste amazing. It's like, it's not, I couldn't believe that it wasn't sugar, and I couldn't believe that it wasn't, I could believe that it wasn't aspartame because there truly isn't an aftertaste, which I am really excited about because you are in a highly competitive market, right?
Absolutely.
This whole kind of snacks that are healthy market, it's a big thing right now. And I just, how do you kind of compete in such a competitive space? I have some ideas of how you've done that, but in your words,
Yeah, it's really telling your story and continuing the education, because healthy snacks is such a broad category, and there are so many players in it, and potentially some of them aren't as healthy as they claim, or they're making bold statements from a marketing standpoint that say one thing but mean another, right? So an example would be the debate of refined sugars and unrefined sugars. And right now there's a big trend that if you say no refined sugars on your product, then that means it's healthy.
Sure.
But a lot of brands will just pump their product full of coconut sugar, which is an unrefined sugar and is slightly better than a refined granulated white sugar. But it's not that much better. It's still added sugars. It's still going into your system, causing inflammation, and it's stripped of most of its nutrients. It still has a little bit more than the regular refined sugars, but it's still not great for you in excess. And that's kind of a misconception.
It's kind of like when Sour Patch Kids had like 0 fat. And then you're like, oh, well then.
Yeah.
Any excuse to
0 fat.
Shove this in my mouth.
Exactly, but 32 grams of sugar or something per
it's
7
misleading.
Sour Patch Kids.
I know, there's so much of that. We really tried to make that an effort at our company too. It's like you can't mislead people. It's just about telling the story of what is inside faster rather than, or like what it is faster rather than kind of covering it in glitter and like calling, tricking people. It's not a trick,
And the tough thing is the balance of having a longer conversation with somebody who truly wants to eat healthier, but the attention span of, the consumer today is incredibly short. And that's why packaging has to have these, one-stop shop explanations of the health benefits. And that's why you see no fat. And that's why you see 0 sugar, which we put on our products as well, because you have to communicate it so quickly when in fact it's such a complex topic.
Sure.
That everybody needs to be educated on.
Well, you've done it in a nice way where your brand is a part of you too, and your kind of LinkedIn presence and your entrepreneurial journey, and people are rallying behind you. You have a very authentic kind of email marketing strategy, which I've liked, and just your verbiage and everything that you're posting is very, it's accessible and easy. And so I've really admired that. Did you kind of see that before, that kind of like, we've seen this trend a lot. So just wondering if that's something you picked up on, where it's like the founders are a kind of personification of the brand, and then people are following the story, and you kind of have the two.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't plan on that occurring. I just started posting on LinkedIn because I just left my job at TikTok, and I wanted to be more involved in the CPG space, right? I looked at my connections on LinkedIn, and all of them were in tech or marketing, and I was entering CPG knowing nobody.
Right.
So my initial plan was, I'm going to start posting and meet as many people as possible in this new industry that I'm trying to make a dent in. And that's where it started. And I started posting more and more, connecting with a lot of individuals in the space. And it started to gain some traction. So I've continued to post and share my journey, the ups and the downs, because it goes both ways.
Yeah, the CPG space is so active on LinkedIn and also so receptive. It's very cool, especially during the pandemic. I feel like that's when
I've learned so much as a result of just being on LinkedIn. A couple of minutes a day, getting my post out and, sharing my thoughts in the morning. Generally, sometimes I'm a little bit later to it, but then scrolling and seeing what everybody else is up to and seeing their thoughts, it allows me to take a moment and think, oh, am I working on the right thing? Am I doing this right? Should I approach it this way? Should I test this? And that's really the benefit of being involved in the community.
Yeah. When you decided to produce or to make your chocolate, did you make it kind of in your kitchen, a bunch of tests, or did you go straight into production facility?
So originally started off the recipe testing in my own kitchen. And I'll tell you right now, the first batch did not taste good. It was really bad. And there was like a moment where I bit into it and I tried to justify it to myself. I was like, I nailed it on the first go. No, it was really bad. There was a
oh my God, I never even thought of that you could just like trick yourself into thinking it's good because you worked so hard on it. That must
I tried
happen
tricking
a lot
myself.
to people.
It was really bad because there was just like this very harsh, lingering aftertaste. I used too much monk fruit. And monk fruit is very, very sweet. It's about 150 times sweeter than regular sugar. And if you use just a dab too much, you're going to taste it. Yeah. So made a point to really play around with that. And that's when we started testing with more allulose and balancing it out, getting more of that sweetener blend.
Of the two.
Yeah, okay. They help each other.
Yeah.
Because the monk fruit is so powerful. And allulose is really only about 70% the sweetness of regular table sugar. Mm-hmm. So by putting a little bit of that and just a tiny bit of monk fruit, you're able to attain a sweetness, but without that aftertaste that you were talking about
And it's
earlier.
not too sweet, right? Yeah, a lot of fake sugary things taste too sweet. I really like that about it. It's not too sweet. It's actually kind of like a nicer sweet than regular chocolate too. I love the sweet of regular chocolate too, but it's like a less like intense sweetness. It's like more.
So that was something we had to think about because we could have gone with more sweetener in the chocolate and it would taste great. Sure. Right. But the true part of eating sugar and curbing how much sugar that you're eating is making sure that you don't strive or crave it consistently. Yeah. And if you're having large amounts of even sugar alternatives, it can continue to lead your brain to saying, I want more sugar.
I swear it does.
Right? Yeah. It's similar to caffeine in that sense, right? It's something that is so sweet, your brain loves it. And if you have a lot of it, it's saying, I want more. So we didn't want, for two reasons. Number one, to put too much in there because then you're just going to continue to eat. Yeah. I can say that for myself. I've been through a lot of binge eating sessions and emotional eating sessions when I've, very much enjoyed large amounts of sugar. Yeah. And then the second reason is that when you use any sugar alternative, a sugar alcohol or even allulose, the benefits of a zero sugar alternative is generally that they're not processed by the body. They kind of just pass right through. Yeah. And that's true of allulose. That's true of erythritol, maltitol, xylitol, that a lot of the zero sugar candies use today. Now, allulose isn't a sugar alcohol. It's considered a rare sugar found in like things like figs and raisins. But whenever you have something that doesn't get processed by the body, you could encounter stomach issues, right? And if you have too much of it, you're likely guaranteed to have stomach issues. So we kept it very, very small with the amount of sweetener where you can taste the sweetness, but have an entire bar and not encounter stomach issues.
And I'm really happy that you chose that, even though, I mean, the, sell more chocolate brain side of your mind could be like, let's pump this full of sugar so they're addictive. Yeah. But you're like, no, I want everyone to be healthy. I love that. Yeah. Another thing that you did that was actually really hard for a small company to take on, and this just like packaging nerd in me, but you have very like sustainable boxes. They're beautiful, they're sustainable, and they're these lovely foam inserts that are also sustainable. Yeah. I just feel like even bigger companies like the big CPG, they're not even making a move like that. So I was just impressed that a small brand took that on because I know it tends to be more expensive. So yeah, what kind of made you take that hit and do something.
Yeah. I mean, at
that's
the end of the day, it is a business's responsibility to also be conscious of our earth.
Yeah.
And that's when, that's the decision that ultimately came about. But it happened as we were developing the brand. We've landed on Nebula after a while of figuring out what we were going to call the brand. And we said we're better for humans, right? We said we're good for humans because we took the sugar out. And then we were looking at packaging and we decided, why not be responsible and also be better for the earth?
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, right, you said that bigger businesses aren't adopting this just yet. A lot of them have made bold statements. By 2025, by 2030, we'll be 100% recyclable or compostable materials in our wrapping. And they are doing a lot of research into the space. But the fact of the matter is, today they could.
Yeah.
They could be environmentally friendly.
Sure.
But they're giving themselves time with those statements to wait where it can be cheaper for them to do so.
Yeah.
Now that's
100%.
Yes.
No, that's I agree.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
So that's the fact of the matter. And we took a look at it through very basic research and we found out, hey, this is actually accessible to small businesses. And if you want to make the commitment to be responsible as a brand, you could do that from the get-go. And we're bootstrapped. So it shows you.
And you lost product due to weather and you still didn't do the kind of freezer packs and that kind of thing too. I mean, that's also very expensive, I'm sure. But
it's expensive, and freezer packs for the most part today are not eco-conscious.
No, they can't be. They stay cold so long.
Exactly. You get the freezer pack and all the extra insulated packaging that arrives at the doorstep, and then it just goes straight into the trash. Right. And that's not something that we really want to contribute to in large quantities. So
do you think you'll keep this kind of summer off cycle in terms of D2C? Or
we're looking into other options that are more sustainable for shipping during summer. Haven't found a great fit just yet. So if you know of any, let us know. But as of right now, we'll likely focus more on retail during summer. And be paused on e-commerce.
I love that though. Like, see how you're coming up with, it's not many brands are doing that. And it's like, oh my God, we better be constantly delivering on like a subscription model and all these things, like hooking everyone on. But it's like, I don't know, why, take on the extra headache.
And we're still in our earlier stages. So that moment to learn and focus on retail gives us a lot of opportunity to better understand our velocity, better understand what's working in store, what's not. Yeah. And when you talk about CPG, I mean, getting into grocery is a very large target at the end of the day, right? That's scale. Yeah. Right? E-commerce can take you to a very big place. Sure. But retail can take you bigger. Yeah. And that's where you do need to learn a lot.
And you're making all of your relationships with retailers with yourself right now going in.
Yes. Today we're focused on more independent grocers, retailers, and cafes here in Austin and a couple of spots across the country. And I walk in myself and say, hey, I'm David. This is my product. Zero sugar chocolate bars. Would love to test it in your store. And we have a long conversation, sometimes a very short one. And we'll see what happens.
I feel like it's it's not necessarily, like, so many entrepreneurs do not do that, and they think they can grow it with this like only online feel, like younger entrepreneurs. I find, right, the older ones are doing only the retail and kind of lost in the online space. That's a generalization, but and then but the boots on the ground stuff is so important, and going to the events and showing up to every event and LinkedIn and anyway, it's just crazy how you're not exhausted, but you must be, but you're hiding it well. I don't know.
Another day. Sleep's important. I do still sleep.
Good.
Yes. It's once again, like, find the thing that you need to do that day and go after it.
Can you tell me what's next on the horizon for Nebula Snacks and where people can find you?
Yeah. Well, right now we're in about 18 stores, mostly here in Austin. We're also available on our website. Our plans right now, we only have the two flavors. We've got our dark chocolate and the oat milk chocolate. Is expansion. Right? We want to create some new SKUs, some new flavors.
Nice.
And then one of the primary points of feedback that we've gotten from our customers today is, I don't eat an entire bar in one sitting. And, it's true. I looked at myself. How often do I eat an entire bar in one sitting?
Mean, I do, but I'll be the bar customer.
Yes, and many people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I often grab a piece or two after dinner or before I go to sleep, and just want something small before I'm calling it a night, right? Something sweet. And we're thinking of reducing the size. right? Make it something that somebody can have in small portions and not have to open up an entire bar to be able to enjoy. So one is flavors, and the other will be size. We don't know what that looks like just yet. We're playing around with different molds and flavors and potentially doing some fillings.
Ooh, fillings.
Yeah.
Can I put in either cherry or raspberry as a
Raspberry
suggestion?
is so funny that you mentioned that, because I am personally a big chocolate and raspberry fan.
Yeah.
But we did an early poll. We're going to
Yeah.
have to do another one with our customers saying, what flavors do you want? And raspberry scored last.
What?
Yeah, I promise. So if
That's
you want
psychotic.
raspberry, let me know, because I would love to.
Oh my God,
I would love to release
yeah.
that.
Like the Godiva strawberry filling one is my favorite.
Yes.
And that would be
Little
so
dark
fun.
chocolate with a nice.
What flavors did they pull?
So the
that
two that they
one?
asked for right now were sea salt caramel and a brownie batter, or we
Oh.
might do a hazelnut crunch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Those
so
are all nice too.
Those are the ones that we're playing around with, and
Yeah.
there is kind of that balance. Raspberry is not as popular a flavor.
Sure.
So when you're in this space, you got to do the popular flavors, and then you can maybe mess around and do the more limited
special
edition, special
editions.
edition flavors. So
Yes.
raspberry is one of those that I'm seeing based off of feedback thus far that would likely be a limited edition release, whereas the caramel can be an always on type flavor that people
I'm actually
would
kind of
enjoy.
surprised that caramel is so popular. I mean, that's just personally not like
I mean,
my
it's
favorite
burnt,
thing, but it's
burnt
good.
sugar.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
that's
actually what makes it very difficult for us to make
Oh.
it. So from a research and development standpoint, it's taken us a little bit more time, and it's going to cost us a little bit more money to make that flavor compared to a raspberry.
Smart Sweets, your insane competitor.
Yes,
is going
I just
to
saw
be-
that they came out with a caramel.
Yeah,
A
so I
caramel
wonder
chew.
if they figured it out.
Yeah.
But they use other ingredients, I guess. So, yeah. And where can people find you, like in terms of stores and online? And
Yeah, so we're in a bunch of independent grocers here in Austin. If you're familiar to Austin, someone will call out Quickie Picky on East 11th. We love it there. Native Grocery on the east side. We're at Clarksville Market. I'll actually be demoing there later today. I'm very excited about that.
gosh.
And then a couple of cafes. We're in Juan Pelota Cafe, which is connected to Mellow Johnny's, which is Lance Armstrong's bike
nice.
shop here in Austin. So we've seen some great success, some initial movement, some reorders from those spots, and we're focused on those right now because we want to make sure that we are known by their customer base and can continue to move, and then we'll start expanding from there.
into some bigger partners, I guess, that are more massive, like orders.
Yeah,
and that
we'll
kind of
likely
thing.
focus on having some conversations with regional distributors, local distributors, and maybe a national distributor and see what we can get. But we're going to take it slow, right?
Yeah,
Like I said,
I
it
love
takes
that.
years to develop this brand. We want to make sure we do it right.
And I love it being in a boutique grocer because it is the way it's just the way that that's the way that I discover the newest things. I always
Yep.
go into the more like the royal blues and that kind of thing.
And it's great to be able to say I'm a local brand.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Austin is really working for us right now, because we are a local brand. We are an Austin-based brand.
Yeah.
And we want to establish our community here before we bring it to the rest of the country.
Everybody has another reason to come visit Austin now.
Come to Austin. Try some
Yes.
Nebula Snacks.
Oh man, awesome. Okay, and then nebulasnacks.com and Nebula Snacks.
Correct.
Correct.
At
Awesome.
Nebula Snacks, TikTok, Instagram. Those are our two most active platforms from social standpoint, and then our website.
Yeah.
Sign up for our newsletter too. We do weekly mission reports.
Yes, I love your newsletters. Actually, they're great. Thank you so much for coming on. This is great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Awesome.